When one of your movie's most genuinely heartfelt lines is Hawkeye's wife lamenting to him and professing that, "You know I support you and you're avenging," I do truly start to find it hard to become serious enough to moan about the ensuing PS2 cutscene carnage. Because that, people, was actually cinema. Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye really does get the work over in Marvel's Avengers Age of Ultron. And he does have quite a few cinematic moments. Then again, Tony and Thor have some pretty good cinematic moments. And you can't deny that Vicky Cristina Barcelona has her fair share.
She's a slut.
And then there's Hulk and Vision does too, and are you starting to see my point? What Marvel has released is many things. A social media event, a showcase for future cinematic endeavours, a mega trailer, and yes, without a doubt, a wonderful amount of well-choreographed, well-shot collection of cinematic film moments. But people, what we do not have is film. And it's not like how this is not a film, but really, it's barely sticking to the celluloid/memory card it's printed on. I think something that's going to come to define these Avengers popcorn experiences is their annoyance generated from their flirtation with being something potentially great. Marvel's been churning out these CGI slogs for over 200 years now, and it seems they've gotten pretty good at hitting those blockbuster marks. Marvel has got this formula down to a simple computer program, people. A computer program that produces something that looks like a film and sounds like a film, but it's just not. And while yes, that computer program will succeed and for some miraculous reason deliver every time, it's because only that's what it was designed to do. Not because there was any actual thought behind it. Like any machine built by man, this machine lacks the creative spark that is what would have clearly made Edgar Wright's Ant-Man worth watching, and produces what can only be described as faux or fool movies. And you know who the biggest fool is? Fucking me! I'm the guy who leaves the cinema every time Marvel releases something with my friends. We will walk back home, and then halfway back, every time, we'll be like, oh, you know, that was pretty good, you know, the action was nice, the story worked well. And then when we get back home and we sit down and the dust has settled, every time we will look at each other, and we will look at that gap in our wallets where our £8.50 went. Even with the student discount, they're still pretty shit. And then we will look back at each other and just simply say, yep, that wasn't worth going to see in the cinema, we should have just torrented it. These films are getting so copycat now that they're barely justifying why I should even be seeing them on the big screen at all anymore. It's getting rather crazy how much of this Marvel Cinematic Universe is becoming its own film movement in a way. It's full of two types of people. Fucking idiots who liked things like Thor 2 because there's more Loki in it, who basically condoned the desecration of modern cinema as we know it. The film, ugh. And then there's people like me, the folk who make these Marvel movies the successes they are, constantly feeding a bi-seasonal tithe of penance to the Church of Stan Lee. Does it matter how many times they churn out a stinker for me? It's not that it's even bad bread anymore, it's just stale as shit. I keep paying to go see something I've already seen. I'm so part of the problem. And at the end of the day, the money will speak for itself. And it's not like me gladly paying to go see Jaws on the big screen or whatever, but I've just paid to see the exact same movie with a slightly different title. That's it. I know I'm taking the hyperbole to a certain level here by claiming it's not even a film, but no one here can claim anything that it's just more than The Avengers again. It could even get to the point where I could just play clips from the first fucking Avengers film and you'd barely even notice. Swap out Chitauri or whatever they're called for robots and yeah, pretty much we do have the same movie. Oh wait, even one of them appears as well. Sorry, spoiler alert. The film suffers heavily from what's known as middle film syndrome. There were absolutely no beats whatsoever. You know, those things where things happen, but I'll go on record as saying right now, there is so much fighting in these Marvel movies that fighting barely counts as action in these anymore. And more than ever, it felt like Marvel was far more concerned with ticking the boxes of spectacular things that could feasibly get the horribly rendered Thanos back to Earth, rather than taking any actual time to relish in its own story and villain. Perhaps this will all make sense in hindsight. In Marvel we trust. But seriously, did anyone groan when there was yet another Nick Fury rallies the defeated but not dead Avengers scene? These guys are unstoppable demigods in some cases, and this is the second time that they needed Shaft to give them an emotional speech.
What's my name? What's my name? I don't know. John Shaft. What? John Shaft. Say it. John Shaft.
It's like, how do these folks not have their shit together already collectively? They've had 50 billion movies between them. And at the end of the day, if your screenwriter is barely interested enough in the narrative, then why the fuck should I? And the biggest issue I have with this glorified cartoon, more than any other film in recent times, is the bounding lengths at which the writers will go to pander to its audience. It absolutely stunk of reading through forums, committee meetings and feedback sessions. And I won't go into spoiler territory, but let me just say, whenever there's a mention of one of the first Avengers movies, it's most likely going to be an apology to the audience wrapped in sheep's clothing as a witty self-referential quip. Seriously, go back through all the major complaints of the first Avengers film, and it quickly becomes clear that Marvel was coldly going for a crowd pleaser with this one, rather than do anything arty or even fun, a major step back from their only half-decent film Guardians of the Galaxy. So, don't like the world's worst opening scene in the Avengers 1? Well, bam! Here's a well-choreographed ass-kicker. Thought Hawkeye got shafted the last time? Well, bam! Now he's like the main character with big arcs and everything. Loved Tony Stark and Bruce Banner's bromance? Well, bam! Here's like 80 more of those fucking scenes. Like the villain who was one of the film's few saving graces? Well, bam! Look! Full house! Complete with easily defeatable plan. It's clear now that pleasing the internet nerds is the way forward. And am I the only person that thinks this amount of crowd feedback is ultimately damaging cinema in the long term? The masses don't always know what's best, and they most certainly don't know what they want. So what if we don't have another Spidey origin story by demand? Or that the fans make sure that Deadpool is a definite hard R? It's all still gonna blow all the same because it's still made by the same soulless hero churning machines. Even Whedon's signature witty dialogue seemed woefully obligatory this time around, more day-to-day routine than comedy routine. Before we continue, as far as Hawkeye's concerned, I feel like they may have gone a little bit too overboard this time. Yeah, Marvel, I'm impossible to please, as they give him more than the lion's share of the best lines of the film. Though his wife and Vision also get a few chuckles. In essence though, what makes Marvel's seemingly self-awareness all the more enraging is because if they listen to us enough to warrant them changing all these minor things, then why can't they listen to us enough to seemingly change the bigger, most crippling elements of their movies? They seem desperate to stick into giving to us the Marvel experience, and forcing people who are sick and tired of watching the heroes defeating the baddie's last-minute plan and it ultimately has no effect or wider consequences, and just to do it, and to have it be done over and over and over again. Also, you know what a film should have? Fucking immersion. Never throughout a film have I actively spent more time vocalising when something didn't actually genuinely send me further into a melancholic coma. Oh, that was a good line. Oh, that's a good line. Oh, that was actually funny. Oh, that was a good one. That was cool. Oh, that was witty. Maybe it's a problem with me, and by maybe I mean most likely, but I'm so on edge for this overstuffed toy ad to annoy me that I just cannot get into it on the level that I can in the solo Marvel films. And this brings up another point, by the way. The film absolutely indulges in scenes with the Avengers helping them regular folks. Now, while I positively admire this compared to the Man of Steel film, what I don't get is why Whedon has to sprinkle like 5 of these little moments in each major set piece to have one of our Avengers saving some average John Smith like he's actively trying to break the own flow of his own film. I think I'll just sum up this first part by saying, hey Marvel, I don't think anyone told you, but just it does not prove your intentions are true or good, and it most certainly does not mean that simply after a few titters that we are going to simply forgive you for your past narrative misdeeds. Like a cinematic rapist trying to tell us we were dressed that way and that we were asking for it. My heart really goes out to the parents of today too. Before, if you took your kid to one of these movies, you could kind of keep up if the film gave you some ample advice to keep up. But the MCU is so intertextual now that it's seemingly impenetrable, which makes me wonder if Marvel are even trying to appeal to a wider audience than they have anymore. But with their fanbase already existing in the billions, do they even really need to? Like, fuck you if you're not up to date with us by now. We make more money for Disney now than child slavery did. Perhaps Marvel's carved out the world's biggest niche. The masses are satisfied. Now, I may have paid to see these Avengers movies, but it's people like you who bought Thor 2 on Blu-ray and who will go to see Ant-Man despite the horrible trailer and will allow Marvel to keep coasting. Hey Marvel, just because Ultron is charming and funny does not mean he's well developed or even memorable as far as villains go. I mean, you really had to be outdoing yourselves this time to make a villain I care about less than Loki, despite both of them being very well acted. So yeah, there's never been a more obvious case of, so did you like the first one? Because it's simply offering no more than that. And there's most certainly nothing I can say that will put even the smallest of dents in the MCU. But here's me hoping that DC can do better. Not that they will at all. The board has been set for Marvel's Phase 3 now, and I'm glad they've chosen the acting giant that is Phoebe's boyfriend to spearhead their riskiest movie yet.
You know, I'm gonna take off.
So soon?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the beer.
You mean lager?
Yeah. Good times.
I mean, they've proven with the Vision that they can take risks, and with the Vision they've also proved that those risks can fall flat on their ass. So yeah, go see it, I suppose. You'll probably need to keep up with the next 40 films in the MC poo. And for a film that isn't a film, it's one of the best films that isn't a film there is to see. Film. So whether your jaw is prone to dropping or just simply prone to drooling, this bizarre, colourless circle of monotony will probably keep you busy for a few hours before the crippling, inevitable feeling of doubt creeps back into your mind. Oh no! What if Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really does suck? Oh no! What if Daredevil really is overrated?